строй, как командир задачу нарежет. Все. Пришел добровольно.
Понимаем, что все из семьи.
Limited resources to work with. I mean, you look at the money, just AIPAC alone. I mean, the amount of money behind the Jewish lobby and the the Israeli lobby is just staggering. I mean, compared to the what was called the grassroots, but and the grassroots, I guess, doesn't matter until it does. And
yeah,
what I think you're seeing is these people are being enough people disaffected. You have alternative media of Tucker Carlson as still a top podcaster and voice. And it's totally gone dissident. I mean, he is not hewing with anything, any aspect of the current establishment, including what Trump's doing, which is, Trump has taken on sort of like the Rhino Light at this point, or I mean, Lindsey Graham. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I mean, this is that endorsement. Just, I mean, it disgusted so many people who had Trump's back and supported Trump and got him in there. So I don't know what Trump, what they have on him, or they're threatening his life, but there's some kind of influence there, because these are not rational decisions for someone who wants to hold together the base of his party and enjoy any sort of popular support whatsoever.
Yeah, or maybe all he cares about is his wealth and his legacy. I don't know. I'm mystified by it all. Daniel, the title of this program is Tucker 28. Let's look into the future, because a lot of this, what's going on right now, is who's going to follow in Trump's footsteps. And of course, the Republican Party wants to be a Republican, but they don't think that Tucker is a Republican anymore, do they?
Tucker is out there. He's staking out a unique position for himself, and he's at odds with the Republican establishment. I don't know how much credence to give it. I mean, 2028 is 3 years away. Yep. A hell of a lot can happen by then. Trump may run again, despite the 22nd Amendment. J.D. Vance would be the logical front runner if he doesn't. But we don't know what internal Republican politics will lead to. Maybe one of Trump's sons will step forth. So we'll have the start of a royal house of Trump. We don't know. But one thing I'm confident is that Trump will fix the midterm elections in 2026, and that the 2028 elections will be more akin to a coronation than to a genuine election.
Yeah, well, I agree with you a lot. I mean, he hasn't even been in office for a year, and look what's going on right now. 3 more years of it, I can't even imagine. Bryce, also to you, I mean, do we have a non-party figure like Tucker Carlson? Is that a possibility in a future election? Because we're imprisoned in this 2-party system here. But now there are people that have resources, access, influence, that may be able to break out of that.
I think that's a very real possibility. And remember, Trump or Tucker was floating the idea of running in 2024. And I think that would have been very possible for him to do, maybe not against Trump, but in general, because he had the most popular show on Fox News. He has one of the most popular podcasts. He has one of the largest followings in America right now. And all of that is based on his appeal to the populist right, even if maybe he might not be serious about some of it, even if his politics may actually harm the populist right. His idea that we need to be on a major competition with China, and that we need to keep America in some sense on top of the world. Tucker might appeal to people who are critical of that view. But at the end of the day, I think his policies might be right in line with the current regime that governs both parties.
Yeah, it's interesting, Tyler, when we see how media is being purchased left, right, and center. And obviously, when we think of like TikTok and things like that, Paramount, 60 Minutes, all of these things here. The mistake that these new owners have is they think control is consent. And I think they're going to learn the hard way that control is not consent.
Yeah, the tighter they squeeze, the more slips through their fingers. especially in terms of censorship. And I think it's an old way of thinking that you can just sort of one size fits all, cut off channels. I mean, they'll pop up elsewhere. The new media landscape is diverse and has, Tucker has his own channel. He's not at anybody's mercy in terms of content, and he can say what he wants. And by the way, look, he's not going to run for president. There's just no two ways about it. Tucker's a friend of mine. He's not going to put his life and his family at risk.
Tyler, my retort to that is, and since you know him, can he be inducted? Can there be a draft Tucker? And if something like that came about, would it be successful? A draft?
It would not, because I mean, you can't. There's no draft anybody. It just doesn't work that way. But I would say, look at Kennedy and Gabbard in the Trump cabinet, who sort of bring the Democratic politics in, traditional, at least party identification, into the center of the erstwhile MAGA movement and America First. And if you have disaffection on both sides, I mean, if the left, people on the left could look at Kennedy as a principled individual, and Gabbard, frankly, fighting the fights they've been fighting, even though they're sidelined within the Trump administrations to some extent. And that's just to be expected with what's become of it, frankly. But you could see something emerge from there that would be credible for once as an alternative, if not maybe within the Democrat Party, but I doubt it, because the lock that you have with the I don't know, with Pelosi and them sort of leaving the landscape. Who knows what could come of that party? I mean, I would hope Kennedy would move in and take it over, and sort of purge a lot of these.
It's interesting that you use that word purge. I think we're going to see a lot more purging going on here with the control of the media, and I think to end where we started, the center is collapsing. It's never good. All right, that's all the time we have, gentlemen. I want to thank my guests in New York, Denver, and in Bloomington, and of course, I want to thank our viewers for watching us here at RT. See you next time. Remember, crosstalk rules.
This is the start of changing Venezuela. Then we're going to fix Cuba. Nicaragua will get fixed. Next year, we'll get a new president in Colombia. We're going to start. The democracy is coming back to this hemisphere.
This is, of course, for any diplomat, any leader, these words, well, they're almost panic-inducing. The United States essentially saying that there will be a rolling wave of regime change, perhaps military operations against nations that the United States is dissatisfied with. And again, this sets a precedent that is, and will continue to be for years, perhaps decades going forward, incredibly worrying, in that might makes right, even in situations where your own security is in no way threatened.
Earlier, we spoke with former Venezuelan diplomat Jesus Rodriguez Espinosa. He says despite Washington's claims to the contrary, an oil deal with Caracas will only take place under its terms.
The truth is that, Chavismo and the constitutional electoral authorities of Venezuela are still in power, and they have shown strong unity and strength. However, it's important to say that the U.S. has been keeping threatening on Monday, or I believe that it was on Monday, President Trump threatened to kill our acting president, Delcy Rodriguez. So this whole new trend about Venezuela, the U.S. controlling Venezuelan oil is kind of complicated. Actually, a few minutes ago, PDVSA, our oil company, released a statement saying that Venezuela is actually negotiating with the U.S. An oil deal, but it will be under Venezuelan conditions and under regular trade conditions that PDVSA usually perform with partners from all over the world. So it's important to clarify that, but because it's completely hard to believe and hard to swallow that we are going to give the U.S. oil and they are going to keep that money. It doesn't make too much sense.
The U.S. forces have seized 2 commercial vessels in international waters, including a Russian-flagged tanker in the North Atlantic. Moscow's transport ministry suggests the move was illegal.
On December 24, 2025, the Marinera received a temporary permit to sail under the Russian Federation's flag, issued in accordance with Russian law and international law. In accordance with the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, freedom of navigation applies in high seas waters, and no state has the right to use force against vessels duly registered in the jurisdictions of other states.
The Russian Ministry of Transport stated that earlier on Wednesday, communication was lost with the ship as U.S. naval forces boarded the ship. Now, the ministry also stressed that the vessel received a temporary permit in December to sail under the Russian flag. On top of that, the Russian Foreign Ministry also commented on the situation, essentially stated that Moscow is monitoring the latest developments and that Moscow is also calling for the U.S. to ensure the humane treatment of the Russian citizens on board and also to not impede their return to Russia. Now, Washington claims that this tanker was involved in transporting oil from Venezuela in violation of U.S. sanctions and added that that was a threat to security and stability in the Western Hemisphere. According to the U.S. European Command, the action was taken by the U.S. Justice Department and the Department of Homeland Security in coordination with the military.
This seizure supports Donald Trump's proclamation targeting sanctioned vessels that threaten the security and stability of the Western Hemisphere. The operation was executed by the Department of Homeland Security components with support from the Department of War, showcasing a whole-of-government approach to protect the homeland.
Now, what's very interesting here is that the UK also came out stating that it did support the U.S. in this operation. And when it comes to statements from American officials, the U.S. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, took to X, where essentially he states, and I quote, "The blockade of sanctioned and illicit Venezuelan oil remains in full effect." Essentially, that reaffirms the fact that in Washington's eyes, the vessel was transporting oil from Venezuela. Now, these are also all claims, and they haven't really provided any concrete proof of that. We also have a comment from the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, who took to X, essentially with the same talking points. She stated that 2 vessels were seized by the U.S., claiming that they were either en route to Venezuela or that they were last docked in the country. Now, U.S. officials are not stating where these vessels are from, what country they're from. But earlier, a bit earlier to this latest development, RT got exclusive information that an American helicopter has been attempting to land on a Russian vessel in international waters. And in fact, that very same vessel has been followed by the U.S. Coast Guard ship for several days, although it was approximately 4,000 kilometers away from the American coast, and it was navigating legally in international waters. The Russian Foreign Ministry also earlier expressed concerns over these increased attention that the vessel has been getting from U.S. and NATO militaries. The Russian Foreign Minister stated that that attention is disproportionate to the peaceful status of the vessel. Moscow has also underscored in that statement earlier that it expects the West to respect the principles of freedom of navigation in international waters and stressed that the vessel does not violate any international maritime laws. Now, sources from the vessel earlier also claimed that despite the many attempts from the captain on board to alert everyone of the nature of this vessel and the ownership of this vessel, the U.S. continued in its actions nonetheless. So as of now, that is the latest on the case. The Russian vessel was indeed seized by U.S. forces, and the situation, of course, will continue to develop.
These are some of the things that we're following that I wanted to share with you guys. I was kind of playing some of this before I actually came on here to discuss some of these things that we're seeing right now going on, and it's only getting worse. There's a lot of information that that I've been getting. I was having some very in-depth conversations this evening with Steve O'Neill, and he had mentioned to me about the Russians sending a submarine, as we see here. Russian dispatched a nuclear submarine to escort a tanker attempting to reach Venezuela. The tanker was already harassed by the U.S. Coast Guard, and as RT is already reporting that that vessel has actually been seized. Now, whether or not this is a Russian sub or not doesn't make any difference. The point is that's what they're going to do. They're sending their submarine over there. At one point, Steve said that even Putin has warned that what will it take that Russia has to start sinking U.S. ships. The rhetoric is really getting high, and it's getting very dangerous, in fact. And it's not only the issues there with Russia. There's also the issue right now going on with Iran. You have this post here by Yanni Ben Menachem stating Iranian citizens are no longer afraid of the Iranian dictators. The same thing that the European Union is wanting with Russia to break up the country and cause internal strife is exactly what Israel is trying to do with Iran. Now, granted, most Iranians do not want the Ayatollah in power inside of Iran. They do want freedom. They are sick and tired of it. They were more like a Western country. But Israel is preparing to attack Iran. And this post here, I did a translation. You couldn't translate it automatically here, but this is what the post actually says. The coalition against Iran is growing stronger. Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE have opened their airspace, radars, and intercept systems. The United States is sending F-18 squadrons and another squadron of F-22s. France is deploying an E-3 early warning aircraft to monitor launches and missiles off of Israel's coast. Dozens of countries are urgently evacuating their citizens from Lebanon. In fact, as I was told from my FEMA friend earlier, engineer, he was saying that the Russians have already removed all of their personnel out of Israeli embassy inside of Israel back to Russia. Dozens of countries are urgently evacuating their citizens from Lebanon. U.S. destroyers equipped with Aegis defense systems, including the SM-36 interceptors, have arrived near Israel and the Red Sea. In the video, the Raptors are on their way to the Middle East. In the images, the status of the U.S. fleet around Iran, the fight of the French aircraft, etc. All these things are going on as we speak there. I shared with you the day before yesterday that we already had planes that were en route from Europe to Israel for a clearly confrontational issue there. Israel is going to strike Iran once again and is looking for the United States for their backing and doing so, if not actual right-out help. Now, the danger of this, as I talked with Steve this evening about it, is that he believes that Iran has had the ability to enrich the uranium enough to possibly have already created at least 10 warheads that could be nuclear. And he explained to me in detail what it would take for them to be able to do it. And he feels that they may very well have pulled this off by now. He feels like they're not as stupid as people think. He realizes that they have taken very, very strong precautions in knowing how the drone systems work out of Israel and what they'll need to do to be able to bring these down, and at the same time to be able to defend their own country. In the meanwhile, it seems like Israel is really on a high gear all across the world, in part to overthrow different world governments, just like the case of Nicolas Maduro. He was taken out of power, smuggled into the United States, kidnapped effectively, and now is going to stand trial before a Jewish judge in New York City there. Very troubling, to say the least. I can't help but think of Noahide laws when I hear such a case like that, especially seeing the fact he was very critical of Israel, critical of what Israel has done to the Gaza people, the genocide that has gone on inside that country from the very beginning. So it's troubling. It's troubling. And then we're dealing with Ukraine. Another big issue that is ongoing right now is Ukraine. From what I understand, Ukraine has got Flamingo missiles. And I'll see if I can pull anything up on that real quick for you. Flamingo missiles have the capability of about a 3,000 kilometer reach. And they are hoping to be able to, this is one right here, they are hoping to use these against Russia within the next couple of weeks. And they are going to target the refining systems that Russia has. They're going to be targeting nuclear facilities, nuclear bomb launch pads, etc., and other infrastructure inside the country, including trying to knock down the grid inside of Russia. This is the plans that they have. And of course, they have the very missile systems to be able to carry those attacks out. Now, the question will be is how much success will they have? Will they have enough success? Their ultimate goal is to be able to cause the people to turn against Putin and overthrow Putin and therefore divide the country. And then, or Russia would strike back, hit the European Union in some way, and then make an attack on the NATO allies and then draw the United States into a direct conflict with Russia. That's kind of the ultimate goal. I do know that the drone attack that was done by Ukraine more recently, the Russians have captured a lot of those drones. Turns out none of those were made in Ukraine, although Ukraine has got a very sophisticated system of drones that is prepared for itself, but they were not prepared by Ukraine in the first place there. And by the way, I realize you guys probably don't even see what I'm looking at. I apologize for that. And let me get the right one on here. I forget that I'm not used to using this particular platform. So let me quickly, I want to share with you that article that I translated for you. So, and then I'll show you that missile system as well. So that you can actually see it. This is something I just definitely have not gotten used to at all. And then it's also kind of cumbersome to use this because it is, let's see. Not that one. Well, I'll show you the Flamingo missiles anyway. Let's at least look at what that is there. That's a Flamingo missile, if I understand right. I'm not very familiar with all these different technologies that they have out there, but I just know that Ukraine does have the system, what they call a Flamingo missile system there. And let's see if we can find some more imagery on that. And this is what they're planning on using inside of Russia. Here we go right here. Ukraine has confirmed that the Flamingo cruise missiles could pose a serious challenge to U.S. Tomahawk class cruise missiles, potentially outperforming traditional systems in a contested environment by 2026. That's an interesting thought that we haven't heard before. So this is actually the Flamingo, according to what they're saying. Thing does have some pretty powerful up and go for sure, and that, like I said, this is what they're anticipating to be using on Russia. The question will be, and that thing is going very fast. So yeah, maybe they can outperform it. They may have been able to figure out how to make a supersonic missile of their own, because I've not seen a U.S. missile travel quite so fast other than the Russian-made missiles. With that being said, let me also take you to, let me see if I can get this done right here. Here we go, right here. And let me switch that screen so I can show you that information as well. And I guess I never showed that to you to start with, but again, like I said, learning how to use this is no fun at all. Yeah, Remo, that it looks a lot like a hypersonic missile. It really does. That is what Ukraine is going to be using on Russia here in the coming days there. So let me try. I'll take that one down. Let me put up the this one here. And we'll add this one. Well, find the right one. That's not it. There we go. Now, forget when you hit share, you have to come back and add it for you guys. All right, now that I have it on there, let me scroll through this. It comes from this right here, this post here by Ord Pialakov is the one that posted it there, but you could not translate. It didn't give the option to translate it, so I went ahead and just translated that for you guys so you could see it. The different countries that have joined in there. United States sending F-18 squadron, another squadron of F-22s to be a part of this attack there. France deploying an E-3 early warning aircraft to monitor launches of missiles off Israel's coast. So here it is, Israel, not a NATO ally, but we are giving support to Israel as if they were a NATO ally. Doesn't it tell you something's wrong with this picture? I mean, something is seriously, seriously wrong with this picture. So, Pauline, you should be able to see it because it is actually up on the screen on my end. But now, if you're listening to it on a telephone, it might be a little bit more difficult. So, I'm actually using this program mainly because it does, besides YouTube, it also airs live on Twitter as well. And you can do more platforms. So, I'm trying to get used to it a little bit better. But anyway, I did want to give you guys this quick update of what's going on. Situation is getting very serious. It's very grave indeed. And there is a lot of discussion that that we could end up easily, something could go really bad. I actually asked Steve what his opinion was because he's been talking a lot about the possibility of a nuclear confrontation. And I said, if Iran had developed a nuclear weapon, as you suggest they may have, do you think Iran will use it on Israel, or do you think it's going to be the other way around? And he said, in my opinion, Iran is going to unleash a barrage of ballistic missiles like Israel has never dealt with before. And when they do, Israel will then nuke the country. So when we see all these Iranians protesting and so excited that the Ayatollah Khomeini may be overthrown, they may not be alive to ever enjoy it, especially if Israel ends up nuking them. He does believe that Israel would not do it, though, unless they were really in danger of really being attacked beyond what they could handle. So we know that the last time Israel was at war with Iran, Israel had almost ran out of missiles. Since then, they've been restockpiling ever since. So this could turn out to be a very bad scenario very quickly. Not only that in Ukraine and what's coming, what Ukraine is planning on doing to Russia to try to topple their nation, and everything with Venezuela that's happening right now, it's not looking good at all. I'm Steve Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Have a blessed evening.